So there I was, eating my sad desk sandwich and contemplating whether my computer science degree was actually just an expensive certificate in professional headbanging, when my phone rang. Little did I know that this call would become the stuff of legend in our office. A story so magnificently absurd that we still tell it at company parties, and new hires refuse to believe it actually happened. "Hello, IT, this is Dave," I answered, using my cheeriest customer service voice despite the fact that it was 2 p.m. on a Friday, and I'd already dealt with 17 people who thought turning it off and on again was some kind of ancient voodoo. "Oh, thank God," came a frantic voice from the other end. "This is Margaret from HR, and we have a situation. Like a DEFCON 1, hair on fire, the building might actually be haunted kind of situation." Now, Margaret from HR was normally the kind of person who spoke in corporate buzzwords and considered Comic Sans a legitimate font choice. So hearing her this worked up was like watching a golden retriever learn calculus, both fascinating and deeply concerning. "Okay, Margaret, take a deep breath. What's going on?" "It's the computers, all of them there. They're rebelling." I paused, wondering if Margaret had finally snapped, and decided that our Windows 10 machines had achieved sentience. "Can you be more specific about this rebellion? None of us can log into anything. Every single password is wrong." "But Dave, and this is the really weird part, they're not just wrong, they're backwards. I blinked backwards. "Yes, like if my password was sunshine, which it's not, don't worry, I know about security, but if it was, now I have to type enisness to get in." I set down my sandwich, realizing this was going to be one of those calls. You know the calls that make you question the fundamental nature of reality and wonder if you accidentally slipped into a parallel dimension where the laws of computing are governed by circus clowns. "Margaret, that's not how computers work. Passwords don't just reverse themselves." "Well, something happened. The whole HR department is locked out, and we've got the quarterly performance reviews due Monday. If we can't access our files, everyone's getting a review that just says, Employee EXISDS, and we'll have to hope that's legally sufficient." I grabbed my laptop and started heading to the HR department, which was located on the second floor in what I'm convinced used to be a storage closet before someone slapped "Human RESOURCES" on the door and called it a day. The scene that greeted me was like something out of a sitcom. Picture this: 12 normally composed HR professionals clustered around their computers like they were trying to solve the Enigma code, frantically typing backwards while muttering under their breaths. One woman was literally holding a mirror up to her screen. "Okay, everyone, step back from the keyboards before someone gets hurt," I announced, feeling like a hostage negotiator at a very nerdy standoff. Margaret rushed over to me, her usually perfect hair looking like she'd been wrestling with a printer, which, knowing our office equipment, was entirely possible. "Dave, I cannot stress this enough, we need to fix this. Jenkins from payroll already tried to log in 47 times and managed to lock himself out of everything, including his email, his computer, and somehow his car's Bluetooth system. I don't even know how that last one is possible, but his Honda won't stop playing death metal, and he's having a breakdown in the parking lot." I walked over to the nearest computer, where a woman named Sandra was still frantically typing backwards passwords while consulting what appeared to be a hand-drawn chart. "Sandra, can you walk me through exactly what happened?" Sandra looked up at me with the 1,000-yard stare of someone who'd been battling technology for too long. "Well, I came in this morning and tried to log in like normal. My password is, well, I can't say it out loud because of security, but let's say it's favorite 123, which it's not, but hypothetically." "Okay, hypothetically." So I typed favorite 123, and it said invalid password. So I tried again, thinking maybe I had caps lock on or something. Still invalid. Then I tried it backwards as a joke, 321 Edirovef, and it worked. But now I'm logged in and I can't remember any of my other passwords backwards, and I've been sitting here for 3 hours trying to spell password backwards for my email. I stared at her screen. She was indeed logged in, but something was off. All the text was, "Wait. Sandra, look at your screen, really look at it." She turned back to her monitor, and I watched as her face went through the 5 stages of grief in about 3 seconds. Why is everything backwards?" And it was. Every single piece of text on her screen was mirrored. Her name showed up as Ardna S. The date was displaying as 7102/2151. And her desktop wallpaper, a nice photo of a sunset, was flipped horizontally so the sun was setting in the east like some kind of parallel universe photography. Margaret, I called out. I think I found the problem. She came running over, took one look at Sandra's screen, and made a noise that I can only describe as the sound a balloon makes when you let all the air out at once. Is her computer having a stroke? No, but someone in it might be having one soon, I muttered, pulling out my phone to call my supervisor. Hey, Mike, it's Dave. I need you to come to HR immediately. And Mike, bring coffee. Strong coffee. And maybe some of that whiskey you keep in your desk drawer for emergencies. That bad? Mike, the computers have learned to read backwards and somehow convinced the users to do the same. I'm pretty sure we've accidentally created the first tech support horror story that doubles as a linguistics experiment. While waiting for Mike, I decided to investigate further. I checked the display settings on Sandra's computer, all normal. I checked the regional settings, normal. I checked for any recent software updates or changes, nothing. Then I had a terrible thought. Margaret, who was the last person to do any maintenance on these computers. Margaret consulted her clipboard, because of course she had a clipboard. Oh, that was Kevin from the night shift. He installed some updates last night after everyone left. Kevin, of course it was Kevin. For context, Kevin was the kind of IT guy who once tried to fix a printer by hitting it with another printer, and somehow it worked. He was well-meaning but had the technological finesse of a caffeinated squirrel with commitment issues. I called Kevin, who answered on the first ring with his characteristic enthusiasm. Dave, what's up, buddy? How's your Friday going? Kevin, what exactly did you do to the HR computers last night? Oh man, I'm so glad you asked. So I was installing the security updates like Mike asked, right? But then I noticed that all their screens looked really boring, just the standard desktop, no personality. So I thought, hey Kevin, why don't you make things more interesting? I felt a chill run down my spine. Kevin, what did you do? Well, I found this cool screensaver program online called Mirror World. It makes everything look like you're viewing it through a mirror. I thought it would be fun, like Alice in Wonderland meets Windows 10. Kevin, yeah, please tell me you didn't install sketchy screensaver software on 12 work computers. Well, I mean, it wasn't sketchy. It had pretty good reviews, 4 out of 5 stars. Though now that I think about it, all the reviews were written backwards, which I thought was just part of the theme. I closed my eyes and counted to 10. Then I counted to 20. Then I seriously considered counting to retirement. Kevin, Mirror World isn't a screensaver. It's malware that flips display output horizontally and reverses text input. You've essentially turned the entire HR department into a mirror dimension. There was a long pause. So, is that bad? Mike arrived just as I was explaining to Margaret that yes, this was fixable, but no, it wouldn't be quick. And yes, Kevin would probably be having a very educational conversation with our manager on Monday. Let me get this straight, Mike said, surveying the chaos. Kevin installed Alice in Wonderland malware that's turned HR into a backwards bizarro world, and now they're all typing MirrorSpeak to access their files. That's actually a remarkably accurate summary. And Jenkins is in the parking lot crying because his car is stuck playing death metal. Apparently, the malware also affected any Bluetooth-connected devices. His phone synced with his car this morning and somehow transmitted the reversed audio settings. Mike rubbed his temples. I need that whiskey now. The next 4 hours were a blur of antivirus scans, system restores, and explaining to increasingly frustrated HR employees why they couldn't just keep working backwards, because it was more interesting this way. Apparently, Sandra had gotten so used to mirror reading that she'd started writing her reports backwards and couldn't understand why spell check was having a nervous breakdown. The real challenge came when we discovered that some files had been saved during the backwards period, meaning they were now stored with reversed file names. Margaret's quarterly performance reviews docx was now saved as XCO dswayo r eknumrafer p ilretrau q, and our file system was treating it like it had been created by someone having a very specific kind of keyboard seizure. By 6 p.m., we'd managed to clean most of the systems, but the psychological damage was done. The HR department had collectively developed what I can only describe as mirror syndrome. They kept trying to type backwards out of habit, reading text from right to left, and Margaret had to be gently reminded 3 times that her mouse wasn't broken. She was just moving it in reverse. The aftermath was legendary. Kevin got temporarily reassigned to inventory management, counting cables in the basement, while Mike instituted what became known as the Kevin Protocol, a new policy requiring all night shift installations to be approved by at least 2 people. one of whom had to be sober. Jenkins never did get his car's Bluetooth fixed properly. To this day, it occasionally breaks into backwards Norwegian death metal at random intervals, which he claims has actually improved his commute because now other drivers give him plenty of space. Sandra became something of an office celebrity for her ability to read backwards text fluently, a skill that proved surprisingly useful when our ancient printer started having font rendering issues and began printing everything in mirror image. Margaret framed the incident report and hung it in her office with the caption, "The day HR entered the Twilight Zone," and it became required reading for all new IT hires as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unsupervised Kevin. As for me, well, I learned that sometimes the most impossible tech support calls turn out to be completely possible, just involving levels of chaos that normal human brains aren't equipped to process. I also learned that turning it off and on again doesn't work when the problem is that your night shift colleague has accidentally opened a portal to mirror dimension windows. But the real lesson here is one that every tech support professional learns eventually. When someone calls and says their computer is doing something impossible, don't assume they're wrong. Sometimes the impossible is just Tuesday afternoon in disguise, waiting to teach you that the universe has a very specific sense of humor, and you're the punchline. And if you're ever tempted to install free software with 4-star reviews written backwards, maybe don't. Kevin learned that lesson the hard way, and frankly, so did we all.